This podcast is brought to you by 2 More Reps Coffee Beans. Get your 2 more reps with this natural pre-workout. Buy your bag at 2morereps.com.au.
Okay, welcome to another edition of the Paul's Body Engineering Podcast. Today I've got another very special guest, and actually she reminded me that she was on episode number 50, so if you're curious to go back and listen, episode number 50 was with Rhonda Jansen, and we spoke about her battle with cancer, breast cancer in fact, and obviously coming through under very tumultuous circumstances. So welcome, Rhonda.
Morning, Paul. It's good to be back in the engine room.
It's back, yes. Third time this week. How about that?
Yeah, I love it.
So we're sitting here in my gym doing this one. But I wanted to talk to Rhonda again about life after, obviously surviving cancer. Now, when I say surviving, I know you don't classify it as remission, do you?
Oh, look, I do.
You do?
I do, but the medical people don't really like to say.
Okay.
But I consider myself cancer-free.
Okay.
And that it won't come back.
Right.
Very clear that it will not come back.
Okay. Cool. So for anyone who hasn't obviously listened to our podcast or knows your story, do you want to just give a really brief overview? So you had breast cancer.
Yes, I got diagnosed in October 2019 with breast cancer. Ended up having to have 5 months of chemotherapy.
Yep.
Which is a massive hit to the body.
Oh, yeah.
And double mastectomy, reconstruction and radiation.
Wow.
So the body really in 2020 took a huge hit of chemicals and operations, just a massive hit.
Can you explain how that feels, like with all those chemicals getting pumped into your body? Like, do you feel flat, lethargic, just absolutely no energy? Is that sort of what it's like?
Yeah, the first one, and it depends on the type of cancer, the first one of round of chemotherapy I got was every fortnight, and it's called the red stuff. Yeah, and
okay.
And I can't even remember if it is red, but it's the one that made me lose my hair.
Yeah, right.
It is so strong that the day I had chemo, that night I'd be so full of drugs I could not sleep. I'd spend that night awake. I was so full of chemicals.
Yep.
That chemo would have me in bed for days. I was in bed for days.
Just couldn't move? Had no energy?
It had nothing. My body was just absorbing the chemicals.
Wow.
But I also saw that as a good thing.
Yep.
I saw that as my days in bed meant that the chemo was working.
Yeah, okay.
It meant to me the way that my mind works is, okay, this means the chemo's working.
Interesting perspective, yeah, okay.
Yeah, this means the chemo's working.
Yep.
And then the 3 months after that, the chemo was fine, but it was still, I could feel it. It's actually cold. I could feel when they were putting it in, I could feel it running through my veins. And to me, that meant the chemo's working. Whenever I felt sick, this means the chemo's working.
Okay.
This means the chemo's working.
It's a good way to look at it, really.
Yeah. That's how I processed it. My nails, my toenails, some of them went black and fell off.
Wow.
I got a massive blood clot from, just where they would put the cannula in my, massive blood clot. But I thought, no, that means my body's fighting it.
Yep.
Everything that made me sick I saw as a good thing.
Can I ask a confronting question? Did you ever get to a point where you went, oh, I've had enough? Like, was there a line that you just went, I'm sick of this? You know what I mean? Never. Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Never.
You never gave up.
As you know, my husband got diagnosed with stage 4 bowel cancer 2 months before I got diagnosed.
Yes.
And he was given 2 years to live. He lasted 5 months. So my husband died in January 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And excuse me, I'm going to swear.
No, go for it.
I thought there's not a fucking hope in hell I'm leaving my kids behind.
Okay.
There's not a fucking hope in hell I'm leaving my kids. And that was the reason I got out of bed. That was the reason. There was no point in time that I was not going to get through it. No way.
That's impressive,
No way. I was fighting everything.
You can imagine people in those circumstances could potentially just go, no, this is too much, given especially in your circumstance, like you lost your husband, you're getting riddled with all these chemicals. You had to have a double mastectomy too, didn't you? Yeah, so there's a lot going on.
And that was really hard because the double mastectomy was in April 2020, so COVID, we were all in lockdown.
Oh yeah.
I couldn't even have my family and my boys come and visit me.
Oh, of course.
I could not have, it was in April 2020, I couldn't have anyone visit me, so I was so alone.
Yeah, wow.
I felt so alone. I was in so much pain.
Yeah.
I had all these tubes hanging out of me to drain stuff from my body. And what made it worse, the day after my mastectomy, and I remember saying this in the last podcast with you, the day after my mastectomy, I woke up and couldn't stop crying because that was my husband's and my wedding anniversary.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And it's actually 3 days today.
Is it?
3 years today since my husband passed.
Oh, is that right?
It's 3 years today since my husband's passed.
Okay, well that's somewhat appropriate that we're doing this now.
Yeah,
That's
it is, yeah.
Okay.
So, but I saw people, you know, because mindset to me is a huge thing, as you know.
Yes.
It's massive.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe personally that every thought we have is felt with every cell of our body. That's my belief.
Okay.
Every cell of our body feels our thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying we can sit here and close our eyes and go, yep, we're going to get fit, we're going to get fit,
Yeah.
we're going to get healthy.
Yep.
Because that's not how it works. I have to do the work. You know, I come and
Of
train
course.
with you.
Yeah.
I want to stick to my macros. I want to stay healthy. It's not
Yep.
just a mindset. I've got to do the work.
That's right.
But I saw when I was getting chemo, especially chemo, I would sit, you know, I was there for a couple of hours getting pumped with this wonderful drug. I love modern medicine that was healing my body.
Yep.
And I could hear conversations going on with different people there, and some people needed blood transfusions. Some people were just so sick they weren't coping with the chemo because it's pretty heavy stuff.
Of course.
It's pretty intense stuff. But I was really mindful too of their self-talk. I could hear them talk, and I personally believe that played a big impact on people's healing.
Absolutely.
I believe our mindset plays a big part of our healing process.
Yep. 100%. You're totally right.
Huge.
So that's a good segue. Let's fast forward. Obviously now you, as you say, you're cancer free, which is amazing. You obviously, what's the word? You provide your experience to others that may be going through it, so you can support others along with obviously what you do in terms of your business. You go to a lot of events and things like that as well, correct? Yeah. Yes. So you're obviously now having experienced that, you can help others, you can guide others, you can direct others, and obviously, as you mentioned, you know, provide the necessary positive influence that people may be lacking.
Yes.
That'd be a fair thing to say.
Yeah.
So what's the what from coming out the other side and obviously having been told that, you know, you're obviously going to survive and life's going to be pretty good moving forward, what were the sort of the priorities in your life after that you decided to implement?
It's a good question, actually. I went in with a strong mind, and I'd always been going to the gym and walking, and but I came to you once I got the clearance that from my medical team that I could train.
Yeah,
so
okay.
I've been training with you, like I said the other day, for 2 years.
Yeah.
What became a priority was nurturing my body.
Yep.
Nurturing my body and looking after my body, especially after so much radiation.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had this conversation too. I'm fascinated with how weight training strengthens our bones.
Yes.
And I think not just for me from having radiation, but also people with aging.
Yes.
I find it fascinating that weight training strengthens our bones.
Yeah, because I don't know for a fact, but I'm assuming your bones become quite brittle through that radiation process and the chemo process, yeah?
It does. I had to get a bone density test when I finished radiation. So, you know, every so many years they check it.
Yep.
But I know my bones are going to be really strong because
100%.
I weight train.
Yeah.
And I know that that's important. So what became a priority, to answer your question, was my health.
Yep.
Is my physical health. Our bodies fascinate me.
Yeah.
Fascinates me. So I was pumped with so much chemicals.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone through radiation and my body's healed
Yep.
and it's still strong and I have a strong body. And I find our bodies fascinating. We
How
can
good.
abuse it.
Yep.
Well, no. we can have all this modern medicine in it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll change that.
Yeah.
We can't abuse it with food and alcohol. We
Yeah.
can have. So my priority is making sure I weight train, nurturing my body.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong, as you know, I'll have my glass of wine.
Yeah, of course.
And I'll do that, but looking after my body, healthy. I'm very mindful who I spend time with now.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, okay.
I used to be polite before,
Yeah.
and now I'm polite in a not with courtesy, manners, and respect. If I spend time with you, it's important.
Yeah, okay.
You're important to me, and I get, I walk away feeling good from that conversation. I
Yep.
won't spend time with negative people. I just won't spend the time.
That's interesting. Well, I appreciate you giving up the time this morning.
Oh no! Well, this is my happy place.
Yeah.
This is my happy place.
Yeah.
Really mindful of looking. Also mindful of. I don't know how much time I've got left.
Sure.
So I'm now really doing the times and things that I loved.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm more mindful of that.
Yep. So let's move on to the specifics of weight training. Now, when you approached me, and you must forgive me for not recalling the conversation initially, what was your intention? What did you want to experience? Did you know that I did specific weight training, or was it just that you wanted someone to guide you in terms of further exercise?
No, you trained a lady that I know down the Gold Coast.
Oh, Brooke.
Brooke.
Yes.
Beautiful Brooke.
Yes.
If you're listening, beautiful Brooke. And her husband, a little baby.
Yes.
Little baby. There she is up. There
Yeah, she's on the wall. Yeah, she's on the wall. That's right.
Brooke, you're up there in your purple outfit.
Yep.
That's her, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Purple.
Yep, in the purple.
I'd seen, and I know Brooke personally, and I saw her photos. I wanted a strong body.
Okay.
I chose you because I know that it's your passion. I know you've spent a lot of time studying, and you still study, and you're passionate about it, and you get results. I wanted someone that could get me a strong body again. I wanted a strong, healthy body.
What do you say about the stigma regarding females and lifting weights, and that they'll get muscly like men and massive and all those things? Because it's still very relevant today. Like, there's a lot of newcomers that come to me and still say, I don't want to get too big, or I don't want to look like a man. It's still a very strong stigma. You've been training with me now for 2 years. You certainly don't look that way.
No, I'm not I don't look like, here's my favourite, The Rock.
Oh, The Rock, yeah.
I don't look like The Rock. I was listening to your podcast, you and not your podcast, but
the video with Kelly.
You and Kelly last week,
Yep.
and it was one of your comments there, and I agreed, is you got to be lifting heavy consistently, wouldn't you?
Yes.
So your question was, will women get bulky?
Yeah.
No, not unless
You train that way.
Not unless you train that way.
That's right.
And you don't train me that way.
No, I don't. Like, using Kelly as an example, obviously our objective with her is to put on more muscle mass, because that's her goal, to get back on stage and compete. So we need to obviously feed her a lot more to be conducive to weight gain and muscle development. Whereas for you, it's about strength.
Yes.
That's the specifics of our training. So, it's different for everyone, and that's why it's important to have a customised approach whenever you train with somebody. And you've experienced that for 2 years now.
2 years.
Yeah.
And I got on the scales this morning, and I don't know if you saw my check.
I haven't looked at any yet. No.
Okay, that's good, because I put on a little bit.
Sure.
For the first time in my whole life, when I saw that I'd put on a little bit,
Yep.
I wasn't angry.
That's good.
Because one night I have had pizza this night,
Okay.
one night, and I had pasta, but for the first time, because I looked in the mirror, one thing I did when I was going through chemotherapy
Yep.
and radiation and surgery was every time I looked in the mirror, I would look at myself in the mirror and say, I am so grateful for my strong, healthy body.
Absolutely.
I am so grateful for my strong, healthy body, because I think women in particular are really mean to what they say to their body.
Yeah.
So women are so critical and mean when they look in the mirror, and I'm grateful every day. So when I got off the scales this morning, I looked at how strong my legs are now.
Yeah.
I looked at how strong my legs are. I looked at my shoulders and my arms, and I could see the strength and the health.
It's a good way to look at it, isn't it? Yeah, and that's an interesting point you raised. Why do you think that is, that we're females in particular, and I don't mean to sound sexist, but they do, and males do this too, they do look in the mirror a lot. Yeah, we do. Probably from a different perspective. Like, guys want to be bigger and more muscular, whereas females want to look more, for lack of a better term, toned. What do you think that is? Do you reckon? In my opinion, is that social media has had a big role to play in that. But prior to that, it was magazines and TV. But I think social media now has a fairly significant influence on the way we think and see how our ideal body should be.
Yes.
Do you agree, or do you have another take?
I do agree. Yeah, I think it's got a massive influence now, but I also believe it comes from, I see clients too.
Yes.
That it comes from when they were little.
Yes.
It comes from when they were little. As an example, for me, I'm one of 5 girls, always the chubbiest out of 5. I was always the chubby one.
Right.
And I used to get called apple cheeks at school.
Oh, all right.
My 2 older sisters, God bless them, I can still talk to them, is fatso.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think for a lot of us it can stem from when we were little.
Yes.
And what we believed about ourselves when we were little. I can remember when I was young, we were out and a guy looked at Mum and the 5 girls and looked at me and said, I can see the first one that gets to the trough.
Oh, wow.
And it's those things that we don't consciously think of, but they're very subconsciously embedded in us, and without realising it, we're adults now, and we still think that we're that person. We still are trapped in that mindset, and we're not. I think we're so used to, from a very, very young age, used to comparing ourselves to others.
It's an interesting point you make. Like you mentioned before, when you were in hospital, how you were listening to others, and obviously you were sort of taking on the positive language, ensuring that you continually remind yourself that you will defeat this. It's the same thing there. Like if you're told something negative over and over and over again, you're basically going to believe that is the case. Hey,
yes, it is.
And we talk about that in here as well. Where if you deem something to be too heavy to lift, well, you've convinced yourself that it is. But more often than not, you can actually do it. It's the limiting beliefs. Yeah.
And it is, and they stem from a very, very young age. I get, I'm very mindful too when I hear parents say, "Oh, he's shy." They're talking about their little kid, or they're just shy. Don't say that.
Yeah.
Because that's enforcing into that person, oh, I'm shy.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
No, you're not fat. No, you're not, whatever it is. I think we're, from a very young age, compare ourselves to others.
Yeah, absolutely. And referencing children, they're sponges too. So they will listen, they'll take stuff on. Even when you don't think they're listening.
Yes.
And they believe, obviously, everything you say because you're their parent or have an influence on them. Yeah, very... very prudent, I suppose.
Conditioning.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. So, now, how do you see yourself in terms of your lifestyle, your life, I'm not going to ask, obviously, what's 5 years down the track or 10 years down the track or anything like that, because we honestly don't know. But, you come see me.
I'll still be here fighting fit.
Oh, I know you. I have no...
in the engine room.
I have no doubt. I have no doubt. But look, many people would, given the circumstances you've overcome, and there's a lot of people wouldn't have experienced what you've experienced. You turn up here twice a week with a smile on your face. You're always happy with life. You don't have to do that. So can you sort of, because a lot of people struggle with just simple stuff, with the finances and relationship and jobs and, what is some life lessons you've learned through this experience that you can sort of deliver to others that can influence a more positive outlook?
I think it's good to feel the emotions.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's, don't get me wrong, I heard a song driving here to come in here and it reminded me of my husband and I had a few tears.
Okay.
So I think I believe it's really healthy to feel sad, to get angry, to get pissed off. Whatever the emotion is, I think we need to let it out.
Yeah.
The worst thing we can do is keep it in. I think it's really a human trait to have these emotions, but get out of it really quick. Don't sit in it. Get out of it and go, okay, next. And that's one thing that I would say is, okay, next.
Right.
And that's one thing I say to myself often, okay, what's next? Okay, what's next? Next.
Yeah, okay.
I think it's healthy to feel angry or stressed, but I say to myself, okay, what's next? What do I need to do about it? What do I need to do about it?
Yeah, okay. So rather than dwelling on an issue or dwelling and just sort of overanalyzing it, you try and find a resolution.
I think we've become very, and even me at times, it's easy to blame something or someone.
Yep.
It's so easy to feel like a victim.
Yep.
It's so easy. Whereas it's harder to look at ourselves and go, okay, what do I need to do?
Yeah.
I think it's important that we look at ourselves and say, okay, what do I need to do to change this?
Yep.
And take full responsibility and accountability. And it's so easy at times, like not eating properly. It's so easy not to. It's so easy not to train and go to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
It's so easy to have a glass of wine or a beer, and you know what I mean? It's where it's harder to say, okay, I need to be accountable.
Absolutely.
I need to take responsibility. What do I need to do?
That's a really good point, because I was literally going to say, so if we take that ideology to weight loss people who have that ambition to lose weight, often it is the excuse that stops them, you know. And you speak to weight loss people as well, you know, even though you're in a completely different field to me, you see a lot of weight loss people, because often it's more to do with the mind than the physical attributes. So, you know, how do people overcome that hurdle of they're not good enough, or they often use too many excuses and they don't realise that they're doing that? You know, the age-old excuse of I don't have enough time.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many of them, whereas as you've experienced, it's actually not that hard to do, is it?
Yes.
You know, you just have to prioritise, as you said at the top of the podcast, your health.
Yeah. And I was telling you during the week too, I'm on estrogen blockers
Yes.
because my cancer was estrogen positive. So I'm on estrogen blockers, God bless those tablets.
Yep.
But I'm grateful for them.
Yep.
I've been on them for 2 years. I've got another 8 years.
Yeah,
and
wow.
I've been listening to some women that are on estrogen blockers, and they're saying, you know, because of these estrogen blockers, I'm putting on weight and blah, blah, blah. It's a load of garbage.
Yeah.
Don't blame the estrogen blockers.
Mm-hmm.
Don't blame all these things. It's what are you doing about it? And that's going back to what we just said.
Yeah.
Don't blame
Yep.
something else. What can you do?
Yep.
You know what I say to people is we all know when we're, let's say for example, not eating the right foods.
Okay.
We all know it. Okay.
Yep.
So we go to the fridge and we're going to get out the Maltesers or the Tim Tams, and we get them out. Is okay. We're aware of it. At that point of time, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
Are we going to ignore our awareness?
Yeah.
Or are we going to do something about it? And at that point of time, I always say to people, doesn't matter whether it's giving up alcohol, feeling anxious, feeling angry, whatever it is, at that point in time that you become aware of that, beforehand, write down how do I recognise that I'm not eating properly, as an example.
Yes.
Stick to the health thing.
Yep.
Or I'm eating crap food, I'm not prepping my meals, I'm not grocery shopping once a week, or whatever it is.
Yep.
What are your thoughts? Well, I'm thinking these thoughts, write them all down. So
Yep.
when you become aware of those actions or thoughts, what's your new strategy going to be? My new strategy is going to be that I'm going to close the fridge, I'm going to throw the Tim Tams in the bin, or no, I'm going to walk and go and have a glass of water. I'm going to be saying to myself these things. So I think it's really important that we have beforehand a strategy in place.
Yep.
Because everybody becomes aware, they're aware of what they're doing, but they don't have a strategy
To overcome it. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
have a strategy in place, and it doesn't matter what it is.
No, that's really good advice, because a lot of people will do exactly what you said. They'll go to the Tim Tams, they'll go to the chips, they'll have a beer or whatever. And look, there's nothing wrong with that as long as it's done in moderation and you are fully aware of the decisions you make. But if your overarching goal, and it should be a strong one, is to lose weight, be healthy, then do you actually need to do that? And you need to be aware of that decision you're making. And like you said, have a strategy to implement a better outcome for yourself, you know. And as you know, when you train more often, eat more healthier, and I'm not saying, you know, 100% of the time, but let's use a number, 80, you have an 8 out of 10 week, 80% of the time, you feel so much better for it, don't you?
God,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you have more energy, you sleep better, you're more productive, your cognitive behaviour in your brain is a lot more aware.
I have more energy.
Yeah, so then you're better for your clients, you're better for your family.
Yes.
It has this massive ripple effect, hey?
And then because I say to people too, and like I said, let's stick to, you know, eating healthy or even exercising, is everyone, like if you go on a holiday with your family, you and Mon and the kids don't rock up at the airport and go, where are we going?
Yeah.
And you both look at each other and shrug your shoulders and go, I don't know. You have a strategy in place.
That's right, yeah.
When you're going on you know, you're having people over for a barbecue for the weekend, you have a plan in place. Okay, I need to buy this, I buy that. Health is no different.
No, that's right.
It is no different. So what's my strategy? And then if someone hasn't, they've had an awareness, okay, they're eating garbage every single day, they're not sticking to their new strategy, then why are you spectating? And that's step number 3.
That's
then why
a good point.
Are you spectating? Because if you're not doing it, you're spectating.
Yeah.
Why are you spectating?
Yep.
What old belief are you still, deep down, what old belief are you still hanging on to? And as an example with health, it could be, I was always a fat kid, I'll always be fat.
Yep.
It's what old belief are you still hanging on to that's not true? And how is this benefiting you?
Yeah.
Like, how is this benefiting you? And you're spectating.
Yeah.
And then it comes into, again, not wanting accountability or responsibility.
Absolutely. It's really interesting how people take on life, and a lot of the time too, in my experience, they don't prioritise their own health, particularly mums. Like, and you can probably speak from this experience. And my wife's exactly the same. God bless her. She will, and you know, a lot of my clients are females, and they will prioritise their kids, prioritise their husband, the home, the finances, and if there's time left, they'll look after themselves. So, you know, I think there has been a shift more recently that women and mums in particular, but you know, dads and males as well, are now reprioritising their health because they realise they have to. I still remember I stole this quote. I think Kelly shared it on Instagram and I used it, and that is, if you're able to brush your teeth every day, which we do.
Yes.
You know, we brush our teeth every day without fail because we know we have to.
Well, you hope so, don't you?
Yeah, I know. Well, it's a good point. You know, some people do it twice a day, 3 times a day. You hope so. But you know, we do it because we're aware that it looks after our teeth. So why are we not implementing that same ideology around our bodies? It's really fascinating, isn't it?
I believe if we could, because we can see our teeth,
yes,
we could see inside our bodies
good point.
And what we're doing.
Yep.
Also, too, I know, worked with a lady that her mother-in-law, talking about programming and influence from throughout the years, so we're conditioned more than we realise.
Yep.
Is that her mother-in-law came to visit and she used to do running in the mornings, and the mother-in-law said to her, you're just being selfish.
Oh, wow.
How could you be selfish when your husband's got to go to work? She worked as well.
Yeah.
And you've got to do the lunches. Don't you think you're being selfish? She knew that was not logical. She knew that was not true.
Yeah.
But it actually planted a seed within her that she then thought, she started questioning herself.
Oh, wow.
Maybe I am being, and that's where it comes from. No, we're not being selfish.
No. Isn't that interesting? Wow. Yeah, but I mean, you know, if you're not looking after your health, and then obviously you're frazzled and stressed and anxious due to everything else going on, your health is going to decline anyway, and then you can't do the role that you're trying to do. So it's kind of a catch-22. Whereas if you do prioritise, you know, it doesn't have to be much, but you know, obviously better eating, exercise, you're going to able to be the person that you need to be within the family dynamic.
And that's like when you know when you get on the plane. I always use this analogy, and they say if you're travelling with children and the oxygen masks are to drop from the ceiling, adults put on your oxygen mask first before you put your child's oxygen mask
that's
on.
right. I never thought of that.
And I use it all the time
Yeah.
in the training because, you know, and I used to think, oh, that's a bit rough.
Yeah.
But as mums and dads, like you said, men as well, we put on the child's oxygen mask first.
Yep.
But then we need to put ours on first. And I think just, you know, if we're on a plane, we need to put our oxygen mask on. So we're not on a plane now, but I'm still... put on our oxygen mask first. You're not being selfish, you're not being... Because otherwise you get cranky and you're irritable and... You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's put on your oxygen mask first. And,
absolutely.
And if you still believe it's being selfish, look at what belief you're still holding from your past that makes you think that, because it's a lie.
It is a really good point. It's often a deeper emotion or a deeper why that stops a lot of people, isn't it? Yeah. So you've got to delve deep. You know, it's all well and good to say, right, I want to lose 10 kilos, so I'm going to find a trainer. But why do you want to lose that 10 kilos?
Yeah.
Why? What's the reason behind it? And then you probably got to ask that same question 3 or 4 times to actually get to the base of the reason as to, you know, that actually means something to you, because it's all well and good to do that. And I've experienced this numerous times with clients over the years where they will come to me with that goal, but they'll drop off because it's not a strong enough goal. And you would think it would be, like wanting to lose that weight, but the goal actually stems from something deeper, but they
I was
haven't
just gonna
established
say
that.
I was just going to say
Yeah,
that.
they haven't established that why just yet. So the reason or the motivation for them hasn't been established, so they drop off because it's just surface level stuff.
Another thing I've realised too is I'm 56 next month, and it's gone like that.
Yeah.
I don't feel it. I
Yep.
feel 36.
There you go.
I don't certainly feel it, and that's the most important thing is how I feel. And it's just gone so quick. But I've seen people that haven't looked after their health because they think, she'll be right. This good old Australian.
Yeah,
adage,
the
she'll be
old
right.
adage, yeah.
We can have the pie and the beer and she'll be right. But then down the track, they're so overweight that their back caves in, and then they can't go walking because their back's sore or their legs or their knees are sore, and they've got to lose weight to get healthier. You know what I mean? It's this,
and they can't move too much because of I get it, absolutely.
And they think it won't matter. It does matter.
It does matter, and taking action now is going to allow you to have a much more filling life 10, 20, 30 years from now, isn't it?
And that's a good. Cancer was good for me. It was a good positive in my life.
Yeah, wow.
Not that I saw it at the time because it made me realise that I have to look after this body because I said I wasn't dying. There was no way I was going. There was not a hope in hell I was dying.
Yep.
I was going to stay healthy and I was going to survive for my boys. But now I'm staying healthy for me.
That's
it's
fantastic.
Given me, I've got the scare of my life.
Yeah.
I know I've got a second chance here. I know that.
Can I ask, when you got the initial diagnosis, did the doctors sort of give you a timeline or they obviously didn't say you've got 6 months to live or anything like that, but was there an element of the conversation with them regarding potential mortality? Was that ever discussed or not?
No, it wasn't. It was with my husband because he was stage 4.
Right. Okay.
It was with Mark. He was told he had 2 years.
Yes.
And he had 5 months.
Yeah. Wow.
He was so far advanced. So they did with him, but
Yep.
no, not with me.
Okay.
No, they didn't with me, which is a good sign.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Of course.
so,
Yeah. 100%.
No, they didn't.
Wow.
So, it's the body. I'm grateful. I know I've been given a second chance. I know that,
Yep.
and I am grateful every day. I'm mindful. I'm more mindful now too. I'm more mindful of what I eat, what I do,
Yep.
what I think.
Yep.
Every thought we have is felt in every cell of our body.
Absolutely. We might end on that, Rhonda. That's a good positive to end on. As I said, part way through, like it's and not just because you're here, but it's such a beacon of light when you turn up to this gym every day, and Kel says that as well. Like, you're always so positive, you're always happy, you always say hello, you're always laughing. Like, and considering what you have been through, it's really impressive and really inspirational to see. So, thank you for sharing your time once again.
Thank
I
you,
really
Paul.
appreciate it.
Grateful every day.
Do you want to
Thank you.
just give your business a quick wrap in case anyone's curious to know or would potentially like to maybe speak to you further?
Absolutely. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist.
Yep.
And absolutely love what I do.
Yep.
I work with obviously mindset
Yes.
and reprogramming, rewiring their subconscious mind.
Okay.
So if they just Google Rhonda Jansen hypnotherapy, and I work by Zoom as well. I work with a lot of people throughout Australia.
Yep.
I can do overseas as well. But Rhonda Jansen hypnotherapy, I would love to work with their mind and reprogram anything that they want to change.
Fantastic.
Yeah, thanks, Paul.
That's all right, no problem.
Love
All right. Excellent. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Coffee time.